Hello and welcome to another edition of Santos on Sports alongside Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. Well, we don't want to beat a dead horse. We've been talking about this subject for a long time, and we're not going to talk about it for the whole show at all because there's a lot going on. But I'm just kind of looking at the teams that are left, and that man, he's still there. He's still there. Tom Brady is still floating around. I know they got a tough game against the Rams. If you're a Patriots fan and you want him to get knocked off, you better hope the Rams do it. Because if the Rams don't do it, Garoppolo ain't going to do it. Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to do it. The teams in the AFC, Josh Allen, you trust Josh Allen to knock off the GOAT? I'm not sure about that one either. A guy from Cincinnati, I don't know about that one. Tennessee, I don't think so. Tom Brady, he's still there, 44 years old, just rubbing it in your face. How do you feel about that if you're a Patriots fan? Give us a shout, and we can talk about it. Chris, am I just preoccupied with Brady? Should I just get some counseling and let it go or something?
No, not at all. Why should you be? The guy has been there for 20 years, and you always know that when playoff time comes, number 12 is going to be there. Now, can he repeat? Very difficult to obviously win back-to-back in Super Bowls. Thought, obviously, last year, that defense was chasing Patrick Mahomes everywhere that they could find him on the field. They really stepped up their game, too. Obviously, they're going to need that this afternoon as well against the Rams. So it'll be a good team effort if Tom can get back to another. This one's going to be an NFC championship game compared to, obviously, when he was with the Patriots in the AFC. So he's there. He's got the weapons around him. Fournette's supposed to be back. Evans, Gronkowski. He's got a host of weapons. Right now, I think you got to watch out for his offensive line. They've been really banged up. It's going to be tough for him to stay in that pocket. They're going to try to come after him again up the middle and get to him as much as they can. So that offensive line is really going to have to hold up if they want to make another run.
I do think the Rams, as I said in the open, probably have the best chance of taking them out. I mean, he could make a case for, maybe Kansas City. Even Buffalo is, looking awful tough, and we'll get to those games in a moment. But, in the end, right? I mean, would you really bet against Tom Brady, even with the issues that Tampa Bay has? I mean, the offensive line is big because obviously if they can get to him and sack him, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. If you're coming in like Niagara Falls and you can't do anything and you have no time to look at the defense and everything, it really doesn't matter who the quarterback is. But I got to tell you, if he goes back to the Super Bowl yet again and, oh, my God, wins it yet again, oh man, oh, God, how bad does that make the Patriots look? I mean, they look bad already, but to do it again, oh, my God, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not saying I'm rooting for him or against it. I think I'm just going to sit back in awe and just see what happens and just sit there on the couch and relax and whatever happens. But if you're Belichick and you're Mr. Kraft, you're going to be thinking, oh, my God, what have we done here? What have we done?
Yeah, and that always comes back to haunt you in the long run, and you sit back and say, well, what if, what could have been, what if we did this, and that way he would have stayed. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of figure it out. The Rams have to make mistake-free football tonight. They really do, and tomorrow, and they have to get after the secondary of Tampa Bay. I think that's one of their weaknesses. They're a good run defense. They've been in the top 3 all year long with that run D. But I think Stafford, if he can make mistake-free football and get against that secondary, I think they're going to give Tampa some problems. And then, see how it goes if they can get to Tom, work on that offensive line a little bit. And remember, the Rams are not a bad defense either. They got a lot of good guys with Donald. They picked up Miller from Denver. They got Ramsey in the back. So they're pretty talented as well. They can stop the run too. So it's going to be a lot of cat and mouse game. McVee and Aaron's, 2 coaches that have been successful now, got their teams where they want it to be. He was there against Bill Belichick. He got beat. And obviously Arians won it last year. So just a matter of time before those 2 clash heads. And it's going to be a fun one tomorrow at 3 o'clock down in Tampa. Now, yeah, they get by, Paul. Can they go to Lambeau Field? If on paper, Green Bay wins, Can they go to Lambeau Field, play in those conditions, play in those temperatures? You know, that's not Tampa Bay, it's Wisconsin, and I'm sure the weather will not be that very good when it comes to that game if Green Bay gets by San Francisco.
I know last year was a little different because you didn't have the fans in the stands and all that, but
Yeah.
you remember it wasn't that long ago. We don't want to rehash it. They did go into Green Bay. They did play him.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers had the ball 3 or 4 times in the fourth quarter. Brady was throwing interceptions and everything else, which everybody forgets about.
Yep.
And they still couldn't beat him,
Yep.
right? So, you know, I wouldn't bet on Green Bay necessarily in that game, but I do agree with you that I think the Rams have a real good shot. I mean, they did it before, so you would think they'd be able to do it again, but we'll see. And we're interested in your calls here. We're taking calls, our new phone system here. We've gotten some calls over the last few weeks. So 774-301-9432, 774-301-9432. And by the way, I'm hoping Mr. Guarantee is watching today.
Ooh.
Maybe he is, maybe he could be working or whatever. But, you know, last week when we were trying to make a prediction on the Patriots-Buffalo game, we had a bold caller, the first ever caller to Santos on Sports, a long time, first time. And he not only predicted a win, he guaranteed a win. And, you know, it didn't, I mean, hey, we've all been wrong in our predictions. So believe me, don't be ashamed about that at all. But I guess, you know, there's no such thing as being a little off. I think he was a little off.
Yeah, that particular game, unfortunately, you know, a big Patriot fan living out in Chicago area. And, you know, he thought that they could go in there and obviously the Bill factor once again said Belichick will have a scheme. He'll have a game plan to try to slow that Josh Allen down. He didn't get it done. And, yeah, they got steamrolled in that one. And there was a lot of those wild card games that didn't go the way certain teams would have liked it to go on, and there was a lot of points scored. So the Eagles losing, the Steelers losing. Wasn't too many close games. This week, though, I think things are going to be different. I think we're going to see 4 good games. I think they're going to be all contested right down to the end, hopefully going into the fourth quarter. Makes for good matchups. It looks like they got, you know, 4 good games here, 2 today, 2 tomorrow, and expect to see some excitement down the stretch.
All right, let's go to the phones. Hello, you are on Santos on Sports.
Hey, Paul. This is Lorianne calling from Florida.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine. I just happened to catch you this morning, and I'm so glad you're talking about Tom Brady because I'm a fan of his and watch him, and I can watch him till the cows come home. I mean, the man to me is just so focused. He's so emotionally tough and focused, which I think is so contributing to his success. I read up about him, and he has a very, very strict, healthy diet, which I think contributes to his success. And I also know he has a personal trainer that he brings with him everywhere he goes, which I think helps him as well. So I think all of that combined, you know, plus he's just a very good decision maker in the crunch. You know, he's able to, in a crunch, make a good decision. So, you know, I was just as shocked as you were when he came to Tampa Bay and for the first time there won the Super Bowl. I couldn't even believe my eyes. I was like, the word that I used too, the same word you just used, was I was in awe. I just couldn't believe it. So I'm excited. You know, I'm going to watch the games this weekend, and I'm really hoping that he gets to the Super Bowl again. I love watching him play and throw the ball to Gronkowski. Gronkowski's another one of my favorites. Oh, no. He's so tall.
You're killing me over here.
I love him. I love Gronkowski. He's so tall that the minute he gets in that, you know, touchdown zone, he just reaches up and catches it. So I don't know. I scream and yell while I'm watching, and my husband is quiet. Usually it's just the opposite. The men they're carrying on, and the women are just sitting there. But in my house, I'm the one screaming and yelling because, I don't know, I have been following him since the Patriots, since he played with the Patriots.
All right. Now, are you a Patriots fan?
Florida, so.
Are you a Patriots fan?
I actually do like watching the Patriots too, because I'm from New Bedford, born and raised, and didn't leave there till I was 26. I'm 71 now, but I still like to watch New England. I feel bad that they're not doing that well, but I have to say, Belichick, I think, made a mistake by letting Brady go. I think.
You think?
Yeah. I just think that from what I read, the big contention was Brady wanted more input to say what he wanted to say, and Belichick, didn't want that. So, he lost a good player there. But in any case, I still watch New England, but I feel bad for them that they're really not doing too well.
Well, here's the thing, right? You represent really a whole population, right? Because I have relatives that have moved to Florida. I know a lot of people who are in Florida like yourself that are from here. And not only the people in Florida, there are people up here in New England that pulled hard for Brady. And I got to tell you, I always thought Brady was great. I was always a big fan of Brady. I like him. I respect him. I'm in awe of him and everything else. But when he went to another team, I had a hard time. I really did. I didn't want to see him win for another team. I don't know. This year I don't feel that way, but I had a really hard time. So why is that? Why do some people feel like me, like, oh God, I don't want him to win with another team? But then there are other people like you that are like, oh, you know what? Screw the Patriots. They screwed up, right? I'm rooting for him anyway. Why do you think that is?
Well, I just know for me.
Is she there? Did we lose her?
We might have lost her.
Oh, there you are. You're there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm a Floridian now. So, when he moved to Florida, I was actually glad. I didn't feel that way. Maybe if I was still up in New England, I would have felt the same way that you did, that he, that he was a traitor, like, you probably felt. But, he's 44 years old. As you get older, you have more assertiveness. You have more, he's been in the league for so long. I think he wanted a lot more input. And for me personally, I just felt that being that he was so successful for the team, I would have thought Belichick would have allowed that. I think it was a power struggle between the two.
No
That's
question.
what I think was a power struggle. Whereas the man that's the coach of Tampa Bay, I don't know, in the same age as Belichick. I heard they're both in their 60s, and, so they're probably about the same age. But I think the man that coaches, I think his name's Arians, I just don't think that it was a major problem for him. I think the most important thing for him was to get someone as successful as Brady on his team. That's what he cared about, and it's proven to be successful for him. So I can understand your feelings, because you're still living in New England, and you wanted him to stay in New England, and I understand that.
All right, well, there's a lot to digest there, so Chris and I will bounce that around. Really appreciate you calling. And by the way, thanks for your support on my other show. We're still trying to, work through some things there, but we're trying to make it entertaining, trying to make it fun. And we really appreciate your support on the Comedy Variety Show.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Oh, I know a lot of people just like Laurie Ann from Florida, not only the ones that are from here, but some of them that are here in New England, and they had no problem. They had no problem pulling for TB12.
Well, she had a great point about the longevity of Tom Brady to be still playing at this age. She talked about having a personal trainer. She talked about the healthy diet, and and a lot of guys, I guess, have to do that when you get to that age to continue to play. But he's still got, the mind. He's still got the sharpness that he's always had. He's never had the great mobility, let's say, as some of these other young quarterbacks. But for him, it's how he gets the ball out, how accurate he still is, and what it does to take it to the next level. Obviously, great players. They hate to lose. They just hate it. You can see that in him when he plays and how angry he gets and frustrated. And the great ones usually are. But I'll tell you this, Bruce Arians ain't going to go up to him and smack him in the back of the head. That's for sure. And get fined like he did to his defensive back last week. So he'll make sure that he keeps Tom under control and says, hey, Tom, I hear you here, buddy. Let's go out and win another one. So he's TB12. He's the best in the game, and he does it right.
I'll tell you, if and I know we're still a few weeks away from this, right?
Yep.
If they win again, right? Then Bruce Arians, I don't think this guy, I think he's a boob myself. But this guy's going to be able to walk around and go, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he can say that, especially when you got the best quarterback in the game, behind you. And so, he's still going to make the plays. He's still got to run the team. He's got to have everybody in sync. And they did it last year. And again, we've said this before, Paul. They were a contender before Tom came. It's just that Winston was not able to run that team the way that they could have been run. So it's not like he hasn't been there. He has pretty much the same kind of players. Okay, yeah, he brought on Gronk and maybe one or two others. But that team was pretty good even before Tom played. It was just a matter of who can bring us to that next level, who can get us over the hump into the playoffs and possibly win it. And then you take the best player of all time at the quarterback position, and he does it in 1 year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. It's very difficult to do again, back to back. Not, it hasn't been done. But, yeah, I wouldn't bet against them, Paul. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's for sure. We're going to let the Brady topic go in a second, but I did want to point out one thing. I was thinking about this one day, right? When you think back about it, it is easy to second guess letting him go, because if you look at the history of the game, now things are different now. People, like Lorianne said when she called up from Florida before, there's diets, there's exercise techniques. There's a lot of things that we're learning about the body that's allowing for athletes to play longer. Okay. Sure. In hockey, it's unbelievable how long Chara played at the level that he did, right? Well into his 40s. Chris Chelios, oh my God, he almost made it to 50, right? So okay, so there's that. But then you also look at, most of the time, the history has said that around 38, 39, 40, they start to fall apart. So now even Brady gets to 41, 42. Could anyone have possibly predicted that he'd be winning a Super Bowl at 44 or 43, whatever it was, competing for another one at 44. He did say he wanted to play till 45, but I don't know. It's easy to second guess that now and go, everybody knew he was going to be able to do that. I don't think that's really true.
Well, it's one position of the game that if you can keep from getting hit, you could probably last a little bit longer. Remember, running backs are taking beatings every time they touch the ball. Never mind wide receivers getting crunched.
Especially with the rules.
Of course, the offensive line, going at it back and forth. So those positions don't last as long. As for Tom, yeah, he's found the way, which is that quick offense, which is that quick strike. Get rid of the ball fast. Try not to take the big hit. Turtle up a little bit. Make sure, hey, I don't get really crushed. And do it the right way, and you keep your longevity. He had one injury that we can really talk about his entire life in the knee. But besides that, knock on wood for him, he's been as healthy as they've come compared to some other quarterbacks who have taken some shots. And then, they decided to say, whoa, this is enough for me. I'm not taking this no more. So, he's doing it right. And that's why he's been sticking around. Will this be his final year? There's been some talk down in Tampa. Some of the guys have been saying, that this could be it for him. And then some others that would say, nah, we think he can last a little longer. So, they're going to go through that now every year. Whether he wins it and whether he doesn't, is this it for Tom Brady? So the media is going to have a field day with that.
All right, we got a couple of comments here. Edward Tracy says, why can't the Patriots get players like that? The old Bob Lobel line. Mm-hmm. And Mark Sylvier is on. Yes, the things I can do at 52. Oh, incredible what I can do at 52. Almost unbelievable.
Well, I was hoping that Mr. Guarantee would call us.
Well, I don't know. We got a call on the line. I don't know if it's him or not, but
let's see if it's him.
There's only one way to find out. Hello, you're on Santos on Sports.
No, it's not Mr. Guarantee, but I wanted to say good morning and another great show.
Thank you.
I did want to, I know you wanted to get off the Tom Brady topic, but
no, that's okay.
I just wanted to bring up that, imagine being in the shoes of Patriots management trying to decide when it's in time to rebuild at the quarterback position and how do we do that? Or, do we let the current quarterback, Tom Brady, just fall off the cliff and decline, and then just say to our fans, hey, he was the greatest of all times. We gave him all, we just let him go until he couldn't go anymore.
Right.
That dilemma of that, and I don't think the Patriots management, their competitors, they was no win. They did what they did. Now everybody's complaining that we let him go. If he fell off the cliff and started to decline like, every other quarterback in the NFL history has done with age, especially at the age he's at, people would have said, well, you didn't manage it right. You should have had somebody waiting in the wings.
Right.
And I'm going to close with most, and this is, I have no scientific evidence for this, but this is what I believe. I'm going to do a little sports talk. 90% of the Tampa Bay fans that loved Tom Brady hated him when he played for the Patriots. Called him a cheater, the deflate gate, get rid of him, suspend him. Now, when he's on your team, you love him.
Different story now.
Much different story.
Hey, thank you very much for your input, and don't be a stranger.
All right.
Thank you very much. Another good call right there from that caller. And, he makes an absolute 100% point, which I think, quite honestly, I don't know if we missed that one, that you're right. We kind of forget about how, boy, they just kept taking a shots at this guy, all the things that the caller said. And now all of a sudden it's all forgotten because he's on your team.
Well, yeah, and as he said, first with the Patriots, you want to continue to put out a winning product. It's as simple as that. That's what gets the fans in the seats. That's what pays the bills, all that. So how do you get the winning product? Do you keep Tom and you let him go all the way until he can't do no more? Or do you get to a certain point and have to make that decision? Joe Montana, they did it with him in San Francisco. You're doing it with Tom. When's it time to let him go? Bring in that new guy and say, hey, he's not going to be Tom Brady, but I still think that this guy could be a winning product for our team. So that's what they've done now, obviously, with Mac Jones. Now, the way Tom left is obviously not the way that they wanted it. And, of course, he's right. I don't care what team it is. If you didn't like the Patriots winning, you didn't like Tom Brady, but now he leaves and goes to your team. Now he's a hero. Now he's the man. Now he's everything world for you because he's winning for your team. So that happens to everybody. We remember when Montana left and he went to Kansas City afterwards. Same thing happening over there. I'm sure Kansas City hated him when he was with San Fran, but now he goes there and he was winning this too. So, you don't see eye to eye all the time. It got down to that management, whether it was the confrontation between Bill and Tom, whether it was Kraft being involved and everyone talking about it. Was it the right time? Well, maybe not, obviously, because the guy's still winning, the guy's still playing, and that's what Patriot fans are scratching their head over and letting other teams win instead of them having him there. But at the same time, Tom's happy. He went to a team, and we've talked about this, Paul. It's not like it's the New York Jets. It's not like it's Jacksonville. Went to a pretty solid team with some good players and took them to the promised land in 1 year. So it's pretty impressive, to say the least, to see somebody like that, just flip the switch from one team to another and be that successful. It is not easy to do, but at the same time, I'm not surprised that Brady could do it.
All right. Well, a shout out to Edward Tracy. Thank you for your comment on the comment line. Mark Sylvia floating around. Give us a call at 774-301-9432. Is he gonna be stuck with that nickname now, Mr. Guarantee?
Mr.
I don't know that way. Mr. Guarantee.
Possible.
Mr. Guarantee. But anyway, give us a shout. I'd be interested to hear Mark Sylvia's input about what he thinks about Buffalo against Kansas City, because we want to talk about the games of the weekend, and probably one of the most interesting one would be the Buffalo at Kansas City game, which is the fourth one of the four tomorrow, the nightcap. And actually, there are a lot of interesting games here because I think each one of these games has its own mini story, a mini referendum, So what I would say is, I don't mean to oversimplify it, but Buffalo, Kansas City, right? kind of like a referendum on this whole Buffalo thing, right? This whole Buffalo Josh Allen thing, because we're watching it from the Patriot point of view. And so the question is he that good or are we that bad, right? So if it turns out that he goes, if he goes into Kansas City, he can't do anything. Maybe it's because we were that bad. Now, if he goes in and does the same thing to them, now it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe there is something really special about this guy. Maybe this guy in year 4 is turning into an elite.
Well, he's already beaten Kansas City this year, 35-20. I believe it was week 3. So that's quite impressive to go out and win in Kansas City. Now, Kansas City's gotten a little better as the year has gone on. And a lot of Patriot fans are sitting there saying, they played their Super Bowl last week, Paul. They're all set. They ain't going to go to Kansas City and win this one because they beat the Patriots. They gave it all, and they left it on the field against New England. So they're not going to be able to do it and sustain it against Kansas City. So it is an intriguing matchup between Mahomes and Allen. I'm really, really interested to see how Pat Mahomes handles the secondary of Buffalo. And I think that's their strength. The secondary seems to be very good. Can he get the ball to Kelsey? Can he get the ball to Hill? Get those guys involved, put up some more points, obviously, than them and beat them in a track race. So it's going to be, I think, a high-scoring game, maybe as much as that first one was at 35-20. But to me, that's the key right there, how Mahomes handles the secondary of Buffalo.
Well, the interesting thing is, I think we forgot this too. At least I did when the Patriots played Buffalo. Buffalo has the number 1 defense in the league in many categories. And here we are, like, holding rookie quarterback Mac Jones up to this, like, unbelievable standard against the best defense in the league.
Sure.
And the kid competed right to the end. I mean, I have no problem with him. We can talk about him too some other day, but, I have no problem with him because he went in there and he competed hard against that Buffalo defense, which is tough. And that's, now you got the double whammy. You got the best defense in the league in many categories, compounded with a Buffalo offense that has really picked it up, that has some bit of a running game, and now the ability of the quarterback to ad lib and make plays. That's a tough mix.
It is a tough mix. And, it's not that Buffalo cannot run the ball. They can, and they got to do it against certain teams or different schemes. And then that's when, Allen can call audibles and see something that he likes to get the run involved. They got Singletary's more the scat back. They got Moss, who's more of the bulldozer. So they got 2 complement running backs in that form. Knox has picked up his game at tight end. You always have Diggs on the outside. He's tough. Beasley's, that little slot receiver. He gets going in there too. But, the defense can find a way in the secondary to force Mahomes to really not make mistakes. If Buffalo can do that and find a way to cause some havoc back there and pick off a couple, look out. They could make a good move, probably win this week and next week, and maybe make it to the Super Bowl. So, it will be interesting. And Pats fans can say, hey, maybe we've lost to the Super Bowl champs. They can always say that.
Yeah, right.
Back if Buffalo wins, so, well, at least we got beat by the best. I mean, that's another way that they can look at it too. So I think that's going to be a great game. Looking forward to that one tomorrow.
Well, that's what us Bruins fans used to say in the 70s when we lost to the Canadians every year. Like, well, at least everybody else lost to them too, Quick shout out here to Steve Souza. Thanks for watching. If you want to type something in the column over here, Mikey Mono, a big sports fan, a hockey coach up at Bridgewater State University, a hockey guy. So, hey, if you want to chime in something about the Bees or you want to talk football, give us a call at 774-301-9432. Chris and I enjoy rapping, but we really enjoy the comments in the comment line and the telephone calls by you. So 774-301-9432. Give us a call. Okay. So the Buffalo-Kansas City game, kind of a referendum on where Mahomes is, where Kansas City is, and is Buffalo ready for prime time, right? Okay, that whole thing. Now let me flip over to who I think has the most pressure on him than anybody, and that's one Mr. MVP himself, Aaron Rodgers, right? So here's Aaron Rodgers. They have this great season, another MVP season. He gets the bye. His team's all well rested. They're ready to play. And now they got a home game at Lambeau. All the advantages. You got to win that game. If you blow that game, you're going to go down in history as one of those players that just can't, rightly or wrongly, that just can't deliver the big game when the chips are down, because you're going to look at that career and you're going to say, man, this guy should have at least 3 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like, he only made it. Not only did he only win one, he only got there once. So is that fair or unfair? Now, if Rodgers, for some reason, things don't go his way today.
Well, he's the California kid. He's 0-3 against San Fran. So playing kind of his hometown team there in the playoffs. He's 6-6 lifetime against them. But yeah, Paul, you know, if Aaron wants to be one of the elite, and I mean, you know, Brady, Montana, really up top, I think he's got to get another one. And he's had his chances to get it. He hasn't pulled it off. He's made some mistakes. Still think he's a great quarterback. He's got a great arm. He can put the ball in anywhere with a lot of zip on it as well. He's got his city and his team on his back, and it starts to obviously their game against San Francisco, and then it goes from there. But I think he has to win this one to really solidify, hey, he's an elite instead of that. Well, yeah, he's won one. Yeah, okay. Was it a lucky one? Blah, blah, blah. But he's got MVPs to back it up. He's got great teams to back it up. So I think he really has to put it together. Play mistake-free football. Can't turn the ball over like you talked about that he has in the past. He's lost wild card games to San Fran before. And, he's got to find a way to beat that team because he's 0-3 against them.
All right, got some other big games today. Today, the first one is Cincinnati at Tennessee. All right, so here's the referendum on that one, right? You know how Bill Belichick and the Patriots are trying to build a team around defense first, pound and ground, old-style football. It doesn't matter if that quarterback is one of the top elite quarterbacks in the league. Can you win like that? Well, Tennessee got the number 1 seed. They're being coached by Gravel. Mike Gravel, he's an old-school guy. Right, Vrabel likes that running game, pound and ground. We keep the ball away from you. We pass on occasion, but it's not really quarterback-centric team. I think that's on the table too, because if Tennessee can win like that, compete for the Super Bowl, and maybe even win the Super Bowl like that, then maybe it put some validity on this whole Bill Belichick idea that even though we're in the year 2021 and 2022, maybe there is still something left for that old style.
Well, a disciple of Belichick, obviously playing for him, Coach Vrabel is. Even Brian Flores, who plays defense first when he was coaching at Miami, you tried to start, as you said, build from the defense and then worry about your offense. And so Vrabel's come up and said, hey, I think I can make this similar style. And then when in the offense for us, remember, Tannehill wasn't a guy that everybody wanted. Nobody wanted Tannehill, and then they just got rid of him when he was with Miami, and they thought he wasn't very good. And all of a sudden, Vrabel says, I think this guy might be able to maintain my offense. And, of course, you got a bulldozer in Derrick Henry, who is supposed to be back and playing in this game fully healthy, running the ball, and that's where they're very successful first, running the football. Then they use Tannehill. But then again, they go out and get some good wide receivers. They picked up Julio Jones to complement that offense out there to go with Henry. So it's not like they're just going to sit back and give a million carries. But yes, it will start with the run, and then it will lead to the pass. Them short passes, once in a while, throw it deep, keep those guys involved, and then work on that defense to really wreak havoc. See if they can get to Joe Burrow. They're going to have to make sure they watch out for the rookie sensation, Jamar Chase, who can really play. So Vrabel's got his hands full with a good Cincinnati team. But I think his defense shows up. I think their run game shows up, and they win this one.
There's an argument out there now that goes like this. In the end, the cream kind of rises to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of players out there that have to do a lot of things to win. But in the end, there's this core group of quarterbacks that just keep showing up. Brady just kind of keeps showing up. Rodgers, I'm not talking about winning the Super Bowl. I'm talking about being in the Final 4, Final 8. Rodgers is always floating around there. Even Garoppolo's been there before. Obviously, the Pittsburgh quarterback, Roethlisberger. These names just keep coming up, right? So the argument goes that you have to have one of those top-notch, top 5 quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl. There's an outlier here or there, and Eli Manning a couple times, Nick Foles, things like that. But by and large, you got to have that kind of a quarterback. And the argument goes, well, Mac Jones isn't necessarily that person. Well, first of all, number one, I think it's way too early to say that this kid hasn't got it, because I think I think when you really analyze what he had to go against, and you mentioned it to me a number of times when I was rooting for the Patriots a couple weeks ago. You said, hey, Paul, remember the rookie quarterback, historically, they have a big uphill climb. So he had all of that, right? Being a New England Patriots still got him to the playoffs, right? Okay. Now, Tennessee might be able to prove that, if we can win like that, the old school kind of manage the quarterback, pound and ground, short passing game, dink and dunk down the field, why can't Mac Jones win like that?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, he can. I still think he can. And he still proved that, we're okay. We got to the playoffs. We're going to rebuild a little bit more and get back there next year and so forth and so on. Now, Tannehill, is a different style of quarterback than maybe Mac Jones is. So, he's had a little bit more experience. He's there longer. I can't remember off the top of my head what year he's in. But, he played in Miami. Now he's over here. He's had a couple of playoff games. So he's got a little more experience under his belt. On the opposite side, it's Joe Burrow's first major playoff game. I know he beat, obviously, the Raiders last week. So it's his second. But I think Joe is more a complete quarterback than, let's say, Ryan Tannehill or Mac Jones. He looks like he can throw on the run. He looks like he can stay right back there and be a gunslinger. He can manage a game. He looks like he has all the tools. And remember, before he got hurt, he was having a sensational season for Cincinnati. Then when he got hurt, that killed him for the rest of the year. They didn't do anything after that. Comes back this year. He's had a great year. I think he's an exceptional quarterback. And you're going to hear that name, Paul, for a while, Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals.
There's a lot of rising star quarterbacks around the league, and a lot of them are in the AFC, so the Patriots are going to have to deal with them. But, just picking up that point, you talked about how, Burrow can throw on the run, and you talk about all the athleticism of his Josh Allen, and, of course, Aaron Rodgers probably, if it wasn't for the fact that Brady won all these Super Bowls, you could say that Aaron Rodgers, in terms of the tools that he has in the toolbox, he makes some plays that even Brady said, hey, he makes plays that I can't make.
Yeah.
But in the end, you can win with this up here. You can win with studying and knowing the answers to the test, right? So, like they say about Mac Jones, he doesn't have the same physical ability as a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow. He can't throw in the run. He can't do this. He can't do that. Neither can Brady. And he's got more Super Bowls than anybody, right? So, to me, the argument fails. I think Mac, I'm not saying he will or he won't, but we have to wait and see.
We do. And he reminds me a lot of Brady in his accuracy and how fast you get the ball out to your target that you're trying to throw to. So the other part, Paul, reading the game, knowing the game, that will come. That's not going to be an overnight situation. You just snap your fingers and he'll know everything. I thought it was a good first year for him. He's very accurate. He's got mobility, though. You can't say that he doesn't have mobility. A lot of media says, oh, no, he can't run. I've seen him run and get out of the pocket and make plays. He can move. He can run, and he's definitely a lot faster than TB12. That's for sure.
I was going to say the other
Tom's
thing.
not a big runner, but Tom still ran when he had to, and he gets first downs when he has to. So Tom does it when it is needed, and that's what makes him smart.
Well, the thing I noticed, too, about Mac, and I think he got better at it as the season went along, is stepping up in the pocket.
Yeah.
You could tell it. I think he could feel the pressure. You know what I mean? And he got sacked, but a lot of times he gets sacked. It wasn't his fault. Quarterbacks get sacked all the time, and it's not their fault. But he'd step back in the pocket, and he'd be kind of looking around and be going through his checkdowns and everything else. And then a couple of times he stepped up and stepped to the right and threw the ball, which that's one of the keys to Brady's success. So, you don't necessarily have to have those tools that some of these other quarterbacks have. You can have the Brady toolbox key to success. Know the game, study the game, learn the different defenses, get to the point where you know the answers to the test, just be able to step up in the pocket and be able to be accurate and dink and dunk down the field. And if you have a good team around you, I still think you can win like that.
Well, yeah, and if you, like you said, you got to have a good team around you too. So as you see Josh Allen take off and run sometimes, that reason being is the offense is not producing the way they like it. The receivers are not getting open, so he kind of takes off and goes that way. Now remember, Patrick Mahomes started that way, and if you've noticed, Patrick Mahomes doesn't run too much anymore. Kind of, sits back in that pocket, wants to be a pocket passer to zip that ball down the field, like Aaron does, like Tom does, and then takes off if he has to take off, compared to like a Lamar Jackson who just wants to run and go, and a couple of them other quarterbacks who just want to take off. So it's nice to see that Patrick got a little bit smarter and said, I think if I want to last longer, I better stay around in that pocket and not start running all over the place, because these guys are fast and they're going to get to me. And so right now, look at the quarterbacks who are left, Paul. Okay,
Right.
Joe Burrow stays in the pocket. Tannehill stays in the pocket. You look at obviously Tom, Aaron, even Mahomes now is not running as much anymore. Yeah, Allen takes off when he has to, and even him, he's got to be careful too, because he's taking some shots this year.
Right. I think the smart run, I mean, it's easy to say that because when you're competing and you're running and you see that first down marker, but one of the things I noticed about Allen in the Patriots game was he would run and he'd get out of bounds before you could hit him. He would
Yep.
run and he'd go down into the slide before you could get him.
Yep.
So being able to run smartly, because Dak Prescott learned, and a lot of the Patrick Mahomes too, and even Garoppolo got creamed, out when he was out there in San Francisco. You can't put yourself in danger when you're the quarterback. You've got to be able to, keep yourself safe. Well, let's go back to the phones here. Hello, you are on Santos on Sports.
Good morning, gentlemen. Great show this morning.
Thank you.
Mr.
Don't call
Guarantee.
me Mr. Guarantee anymore. I don't like the nickname.
Yeah, you better be careful because you want him to call. All right,
That's
that's
right.
okay. That's all right. So before we get to today's games, right? I'm sure you're watching that Patriots game in horror, like all of the rest of us. I've actually had a chance to calm down, and Chris has convinced me in retrospect to think, you know what? Hey, first year quarterback, rookie quarterback, they were from what they were last year to what they are this year. You got to kind of think that they grew a little bit. But when I was watching that game, oh my God, I was just 7 possessions and 7 touchdowns. I mean, you thought the Patriots were going to do it. What do you think went wrong when you were watching the game?
Well, I think what went wrong is in the last month of the year, the Patriots defense got old and slow. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. We talked about it. I said Bill's going to have those guys ready. And sure as shit, they weren't ready. There was one play in particular, and I think Chris talked about it earlier in the week. Where Allen scrambled for about 25 yards, and he went around the left end, and Judon had him where he needed him to, and he literally just ran right by him. And then now they're chasing. So I don't know what happened. If it was injuries, they weren't prepared, or what. But they sure has looked slow. And is McCourty done? Is Hightower done? I think there's a lot of changes they need to make over there on the defensive side. They still need a playmaker on offense, but at the end of the day, and I'm not convinced Max got the arm that a Burrow has, but they got 2 good running backs that still have a decent offensive line. I think they'll be okay offensively, but they got to fix the defense.
No, I agree with you, Mark. I thought they looked real slow, and I talked about that play, and Judon looked like, a deer with the headlights, and he just stood there. And next thing you know, Allen was just gone and right by him. And then as the game wore on, you'd figure maybe they'd get quicker and faster and step up. They looked like they were going backwards, and it was just all Buffalo running right by him, receivers going right by him. And so, you're probably correct in saying, hey, let's take a good look at this team, what we really need to fix, probably defense first, and then come back on the offensive side, because they still got a couple of young guys that can run the ball, maybe get a receiver here and there that they really want to look for. You got your tight ends. So go with defense first, and then, see how free agency comes up, maybe get another receiver down the road.
What you don't know, though, right, guys, is they spent a lot of money last season, which is kind of atypical for them.
Yep.
And you can argue whether that money was well spent or not. I mean, Jonnu Smith really was a blocking tight end. I know Hunter Henry was a go-to in the red zone for Mac. The other two, Aguilar, you could do without him. I thought that when they signed him. Bourne made some nice plays, but
how much money do they have left to spend, and can they get an impact player on defense? I don't know the cap situation or what all that stuff looks like, but they could have. I apologize for the crudeness here, but they could have blown their load last year on the free agents.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
Well, no, it's true. And then, and those guys that you pick up, remember, you're not picking them up for 1 year. You want to pick them up to keep them for a long time and say, this is the nucleus of my team. This is what I'm building around, whether it's Smith and Hunter Henry and Judon, and then obviously find the pieces to work with them. But that's got to be the nucleus of your team. So if you're going to spend that much money, you better make sure you put those guys and you lock them away for a good 5 to 10 years. That's for sure.
Well, Mark, I wanted to ask you, right? We talked about it. I know we're joking with you about Mr. Guarantee and all that. You had a little bit of confidence there that the Patriots might be able to pull it off. And I got to tell you, I kind of did too. And then I think back about it, the way the Patriots, especially the defense, played in those last 3 or 4 games. I don't know why guys like you and me had that kind of thought that maybe like some kind of switch was going to flip and that they were going to be able to turn it around, because they really look bad. How were we fooled like that? How did they end up playing the way that they did, and why do we think they were going to win even though they played so terribly down the stretch?
Those are all good questions, and as Mr. Santos, the other Santos, will tell you, he's not fond of my predictions. He'll tell you to go the opposite direction. But I don't know. Listen, if you look at the seven game win streak, really, who was it against? It was against a bunch of bums. Okay, they beat Tennessee. Tennessee didn't have A.J. Brown. They didn't have Derrick Henry. They ran into a couple other teams with injuries. It's similar to a couple of non-Super Bowl seasons that they've had. I sit here and go, they're gonna win that game at the end of the year against the Dolphins. I know they struggle in Miami. They're gonna win that game. They're too good not to. They come into that game and they laid an egg. So I should have known. You should have known, Paul, coming into the playoffs that was going to be an ugly game. And to switch gears, I know you've talked about the other games. I'll jump to Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at the history of the NFL, particularly in the playoffs, it's not uncommon to see one team come out one week and they smack the crap out of somebody. Everything's firing on go. Then they come into the next week and they lay a dud. On the same token, there's teams like the Niners and the Cowboys in the 90s where every game they won by 30. I think Buffalo is on that roll right now. I think Buffalo is of all these teams, I think Buffalo is comfortable in what they're doing. They talk about it out here on the radio a lot. Obviously, they're looking to hire a coach for the Bears. They're looking at the Bills' offensive coordinator, and they're going, you know what? He's interviewing right now. He had an all-time game last week. If they come out and smack the crap out of Kansas City, score another 30-plus points, he's going to solidify getting a job. But I think they're on a roll, and I think Kansas City is too one-dimensional. Buffalo doesn't have the best running game either, but Allen can do things with his legs, and I just think their defense is better than Kansas City's defense. Tough to win 2 times on the road at the same place, particularly a place like Kansas City, but I see Buffalo being on that type of roll. And then on the converse, what I said, I think Cincinnati is going to be that team that came out smoking, and then it backs up the following week. Tennessee on the road with Derrick Henry is not the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are your matchups there. I think Tennessee wins. I think Buffalo wins. And I'm not guaranteeing any of them. And then when you look to Green Bay, I got to tell you, I lived in Chicago now for 20 years, and they force feed Aaron Rodgers on us, and we can't stand the guy. But I'll tell you the one thing he doesn't do, he doesn't turn the ball over. And it's going to be cold as heck in Green Bay tomorrow. Now, Jimmy G has played in the cold weather. He went to college out here. He played in New England. But the way those two, and San Fran's a physical team that can play in the cold, but I think in tomorrow's game, single-digit weather, Jimmy G is more prone to turn the ball over than Aaron Rodgers. And, we can argue about Aaron Rodgers all we want. If they didn't kick that field goal against Tampa last year and they went for it on 4th and goal, they're probably in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't like Green Bay here. I don't like Green Bay when they beat the Patriots with Favre, but Aaron Rodgers is that guy, and I can see them beating the Niners in probably a close game. And then it's TB12 all the way against the Rams. I don't know who the hell thinks the Rams are going to beat Tom Brady, but that's all I got for today, guys. I'll let you answer.
All right. Hey, thank you very much for calling. Don't be a stranger.
You bet.
All
I
right.
love your show. If I was in California, I'd never be able to tune in. These hours I had a rough Friday night, and I was in bed, and I get a text from Chris. The show's on.
Show's on.
All right, I
Let's
forgot you're an
go.
hour behind us. I forgot about
That's
that.
right.
All right.
Hey,
thank you
thanks,
very
Mark.
much. All right. Bye-bye. All right. Well, we got to give props to Mr. Guarantee for, stepping up to the plate and giving us a call. We won't call him Mr. Guarantee anymore. So I was interested because he just made 4 predictions, right? So that means I could take all of these to the bank, right?
You can either do that, or you can see what he did last week and go opposite everything he said, and rewind it and go from there. But Paul, you asked him a question, and you talked about the last few weeks going into the playoffs for the Patriots, and you said what was going to flip the switch and going to. Remember what you have, though. You have probably the greatest coach in football by a lot of people will say Bill Belichick. You also talk about a great defensive guru, Bill Belichick. So that's where the light switches, because you have someone like that who has in the past, and you've seen, come up with some great schemes and game plans against some different teams to find a way to knock them off and beat them, like they did when they went to Buffalo and beat them the first time. So you always have that intangible. Well, yes, we believe in Bill. We have faith in him. And that's probably why you and Mark continue to think that going up into there, that you always have a chance to win because he's behind you. And there's nothing wrong with that because he's led it for you. You've seen it over the years, and people continue to think, yes, that will get done. Now, obviously, the bad part is you don't have TB12 on the opposite side helping you out.
In Bill we trust used to be the mantra. All right, let's see. We got some comments over here. Mikey Mono is commenting here in the comment line. Allen was running out of bounds with a big smile on his face. He knew what he was doing, and he's very confident right now. I do remember that. That kind of, I would call it more of a smirk rather than a smile. He was just rubbing it in the Patriots' face right there. He did know what he was doing, and I don't know. I agree with Mark, who called before. I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo has as good a chance right now to take it to the end than anybody that's there, except maybe for Tom Brady. We talk about the special, that special thing that Brady has. But I don't know if Buffalo looks anything like they did last week. I think they're a contender, no question about it.
Yeah, well, he said, a lot of teams can look great one week and then come back the next week and not look good at all. But he thought that they can continue that great run. If you remember the play, too, I think it was the week before, Allen was getting hit and he was going out of bounds and he just kind of threw the ball and it went in and the guy caught the ball. So even as he's getting hit, he's still making plays. Then the one he was going to go out of bounds and he says, I'm just going to throw the ball away. And he throws it a little short and the tight end goes up and catches the thing. So a lot of things are dropping Buffalo's way right now. And this could be another week where it does.
All right. We still got about 10 minutes left. If you want to jump in here, last call for the phone call at 774-301-9432. Give us a shout. Let us know what you think here on Santos on Sports. Now, we can circle back to the football or whatever, but I have to get in a moment here about our Boston Celtics, So Chris and I have this running joke over here, and I'm kind of rooting for him, although I think they're kind of unlikable a little bit. But I have this thing where Tatum gets the ball at the end, always takes the last shot, and always blows it. So we kind of joking around about, see that, Chris? He did it again. He took the last shot, blew it. See, Chris, he did it again. Took the last shot, blew it. It happens every time. And he always takes the shot. Nobody else ever takes it. It's always Tatum that takes it, And so last night, it was a little late. I was a little tired, I went to bed. I'm laying in bed. My phone is kind of just a little bit out of my reach. And it comes down to the last shot. And I'm thinking, oh, boy, Tatum's going to take it. Watch this. So the ball goes in the air. The ball bounces off the rim. My cell phone was up here like this, right? And I just couldn't wait to get, I'm like this, like, where's that phone? Where's that phone, right? And Chris was texting, I think you texted me before I had a chance to text you. I'm like, look, he blew it again. You're like, Tatum. I said, I know, he blew it again. Like, this guy is so talented. why is it he can't seem to make that last shot? I don't know. There's something, look at Luka Doncic, how he's like Mr. Clutch, gets that shot of, Bird used to be that guy. Of course, Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, ball's in his hands, it's going down. And Steph Curry hit a big winning shot last night. There are certain guys that, yeah, I want him to have the ball. Well, Tatum hasn't proven that, that's for sure.
No, not this year. Absolutely not. He hasn't. But let's go prior to that, Paul. That game should have never even gotten to that situation. The Boston Celtics had a 10-point lead with like 2 minutes to go. This is where the problem is. Their defense in the fourth quarter is horrific. It's been terrible. They can't do anything right. And then it always seems to come down to that last play. Now, you talk about the great shooters, Doncic, Jordan, Bird, okay? You talk about shots where they look like they're in complete control of their body, of their game. This guy never looks like he has an open shot where he's in complete control. Always fading away, always falling back. I'm all set with that. Fine, come off the dribble, square up to the basket, and take the shot. Instead of this, I'm falling backwards kind of thing. And so that's why he's not making like he did in maybe last year or the year before, and he's missing a lot more this year because I think it's just his shot selection is terrible, personally. Or once in a while, hey, fake it, drive to the basket, maybe get fouled, and then go to the line. But that defense, you're just giving away games when you're having big leads, and another one again last night.
Well, Mark Sylvia is still on the line. He's typing in the comment line, and I use the word unlikable, and I've had a hard time liking this group. And Mark Sylvia says most unlikable team of all time is what he's saying. Never one to hold back an opinion there.
Nope.
Brad doesn't have the balls, but they need to move Tatum. He is a guy who is going to get his stats, but not play winning ball. They need to make a mega deal, yet they keep talking about moving Brown. There are people that think that Brown is better than Tatum in terms of his ability to be more of a team guy. I don't know. I watch the games, and everybody keeps telling me Tatum's better than Brown. But then when I watch the games, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think they're close, don't you?
Well, and they're even talking about with the media, and if you watch for this last 2 weeks, all I've seen in the paper is Tatum talking about Brown in the team, Brown talking about Tatum in the team, talking about how they can play together, how can they be a unit together. That's all I've heard for the last 2 weeks, all over the media, talking to those two guys. Yes, we can coexist. Yes, we can do this. Yes, we can do that. So they seem at least to say in the positivity for the Boston Celtics that they can work together. Now, one guy's going to say one, Paul. The other guy's going to say another. People are going to like Brown. People are going to like Tatum. That's just how it is. You got to get a feel of who you think is the better player. That's just a personal opinion from each guy, each media, each fan. And it just matters what Brad wants to do and say who he really likes and says, oh, yeah, these guys can coexist. We're going to keep them. Or, nope, Brown's my man. I'm going to let Tatum go. I'm going to do this. Or, nope, Tatum's my man. I'm going to let Brown go, and I'm going to do this. So we're just going to have to wait and see because I don't think they can take too much more of this the way it's been going. You win 5 out of 6, and then you lose 2 stinkers. Just didn't look good at all. And especially last night, dropping that one, letting Portland come from behind to beat you at home. Not good. All right, I don't know if we lost Paul or not. Don't know if he's on the other side. I think he might have lost a little internet. Let me double check here. Well, we did lose an internet, unfortunately, for Paul over at home. So I am going to sign off. We hope to get back onto the sports once again for Santos on Sports. Stay tuned for that next week, and we'll see how the great games go. We appreciate your calls. We appreciate, obviously, you typing in and chatting with us, and we look forward to hearing from you again next week. Thanks, everyone. Chris Santos and Paul Santos, Santos on Sports.